started acting when I was like 6 years old. We listened to the radio. It was during the Depression, and I would imitate the people, Gracie Allen, and make my family laugh, because the Depression, people were very depressed. That's when I started performing until I saw Mae West. We saw Mae West in a movie. So I sang a little song for my family, my father. So it was an old, you can save all your nickels and save all your dimes, but when you got some dollars, come up and see me sometime. My father went to throw up. I never want to hear you, and I didn't know what it was about. So I got a big hit in the face, but I still made him laugh. And that I wanted to be an actor. That was it. I was born to it. As the Swede, I'm a Swedish and other things. And I knew I was going to get to New York somehow and be an actor, or work as an actor. And in 1951, I came to New York. And I auditioned for the Tony commercial, the Witch Twin has the Tony. And I got lots of fan mail right away. So Arthur Godfrey, this was the Arthur Godfrey and his friends show. So right away, I'm singing and dancing, and I've never seen television. I don't know camera, what. I just did it and loved it and made people laugh. So, and I continued. From there I went to The Big Payoff with Bess Meyerson. She sent me to my first drama coach. First I had to get rid of my southern accent, because I knew I couldn't do Juliet with a southern drawl. And those were the moves. And I was off and running. And I went on to The Big Payoff and blah, 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 blah. And my first movie was A Face in a Crowd. And I became a face in a crowd because I had a small role. I had 3 little segments, but I unfortunately I'm in there with Andy Griffith, giving him a big kiss, and he slams me out of the way because he's talking to his girlfriend. I was doing a show called The Price is Right. I did the fashion commentary and all kinds of silly things that Bill Cullen laughed, and he was wonderful. And coming to work, and Mark Goodson, they said, "Oh, you're not doing the fashion commentary anymore. Don Pardo is doing it." So Don was my buddy, and I wasn't mad at Don, and I was furious. So I said, "Well, I quit." And I told the stage manager, "Tell Bill, I'm leaving. That's it, the whole thing." And then Bill calmed me down. He was nervous. Everybody was very nervous. They were going to lose their jobs. And I went down. We had a nice little talk, going on to bigger, what is that expression when it was bigger things. And I went home, and I called my agent. It was a top agent in New York City, Gloria Sapphire. So I called her, and I told her, I said, I quit. And I had auditioned 2 or 3 times for Michael Todd Jr., because Michael Todd saw me on Naked City and hadn't heard, but he was interested in me as an actor. And she said, hold it. I said, what do you mean? I said, he just took away my fashion copy. And she said, wait a minute, you have a job. I said, what? She said, you're starring in Scent Mystery. So that was a thrill. I mean, it was like, oh, thank you. That's, coming from somewhere. So off I went to Spain, and oddly enough, flew over with Peter Lorre that I'd met, because Peter and Boris Karloff, Orson Bean, who I was dating Orson at that time, and they were playing, it was Broadway somewhere, and I met them afterwards, and it was wonderful. I mean, these were my heroes. Boris Karloff said, if you ever want to imitate me, you just have, this is what it is, antipasto. They were wonderful. And then Peter quickly showed me his new daughter, so cute. And she's adorable. He said, and she looks just like me. So we became friends. So here I am doing a film with Peter Lorre. I loved Peter Lorre. I saw a film called M. What an actor, one of the best actors I ever worked with in my life. Oh, we flew over together and we had a great time. We had an entire plane. But I so renewed the friendship with him. And I looked after him. He was sick. He had a problem. And so, in fact, I saved his life at one point, a major point in Granada. And he had taken too much overdose of medicine, and I saved his life. My calling, I didn't know what to do. And that's a long story. I'll just make it short. But he was lying on bed. He looked like a beached whale. He was very fat at this point, and he wasn't breathing, or he could hardly. So there were two people. It was like faulty towers. The waiter. I thought, what should I do? Help me, whatever. And it was brandy. And then something said, oxygen. The hospital was next door. And the little faulty towers waiter rushed down, and then I fainted. Dead weight. But I saved his life. And he was wonderful. And he said to me, in the beginning, he said, in this film, we are face makers. We act, but we're mainly face makers. And I wept. I said, you can't say that to me. I saw you in M. I don't want to be... Anyway, he took me to my first bullfight. And we had a grand time. And I had it was a wonderful experience. I love Spain. I fell in love with Spain. In fact, some interview, I said, they were saying, where do you live or where would you want it? I said, I want to keep my apartment in New York and a cave. I'd like to live in a cave in Granada, because that's where Peter got sick, and I hung out with all the gypsies who lived. They dressed me up as a gypsy, and I had a wonderful time. And Jack Cardiff, the best cameraman in the entire world. He had never directed a picture. And I adored him. I loved him. I thought he was wonderful, and his family. But he didn't help me in any way. So I just went on my own, like Peter said, be a face maker. He knew what was coming, I guess. I don't know. But I adored him. He was the best dancer I've ever danced with. Well, all of Spain. I fell in love with the whole country. Cordoba, the mosque, that was a major scene. We were all going, the mosque was something incredible. It had huge columns, because it was pretty formidable. I mean, you didn't, it was you could feel the energy in that mosque, and it was really very strange. And I didn't want to be in there. And I thought, we shouldn't be filming in here. And it's not good. That's the bad luck. I just had a feeling that we should be there. And I had a major scene there. I mean, it's in there, but it's not the scene that was finalized. I thought, anyway. Jack Cardiff throws down bricks and all this debris on my head, or right above my head. And I threw up my hands like that and screamed. I did what I, would normally do. I mean, and Jack Cardiff said, looks like you're laughing. So, I just did the best I could, and I don't even know if it's still in. It's in the film, but it's not the original. I was terrified. This big fight going on in my bedroom, and I don't know what's going on. So they had me go eek, eek. They had somebody go eek, eek, eek. And I would never say eek if somebody enters my bedroom, unless it was somebody very interesting. Sandra Sheehan was my stand-in, and became one of my best friends. And her father was from Georgia, and I was born in Atlanta. That's why I had to get rid of my southern accent. And she was wonderful. We became great friends, and she was like my daughter. She lost her mother at a very early age. So there she was living in Spain with her colonel. Her father was a colonel from Georgia. The cast was incredible. I mean, I loved every one of them. Paul Lucas, marvelous. All the characters in the movie, the actors were all fabulous. And it was a wonderful time. We were housed in the Hotel Miramar, and Ernest Hemingway came in every week to pick up his mail. And we finished shooting one day, and they took me in for a drink at this long bar, and Hemingway always stood at the end of the bar, standing up and drinking with a matador. I didn't know who they were then. And Bill Roos and Michael Todd Jr., they were taking me in to have a drink, something celebrating the beginning or whatever it was. And Bill Roos said, "Oh my God, I can't go in this bar. Ernest Hemingway is sitting at the end of the bar." And I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. He's a friend." Lying, like, and so I always sat at the end. We would come in, a lot of us after work, and I sat at the end of the bar. And Hemingway, he was aware of me because he knew there was a movie going on, and he was, he loved actors. So I said, would you like to say hello to him? I made up this whole thing, and it was almost like Hemingway picked it up in the air, because when he left, he walked down the length of the long bar. We're sitting over here, and he turns and he goes. So that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship. And his marvelous wife, Mary, they became very good friends. I mean, we went to bullfights, and I bought my first car, a Citroën in Madrid. Hemingway hated it, Mary loved it. So after the film, I went to Paris with Sandra. I was going to live there. I had a great apartment, found a great place, and my Citroën, I had to learn how to drive the Citroën, which is a wonderful car. So I have a telegram, Papa's 60th birthday, come on down, you're invited. So I went back to Spain for the party, and it was an incredible, his 60th birthday. And Mary had arranged, there were palm trees and lights all over, and it was marvelous. And he even had a shooting gallery, and there's a picture of him shooting a cigarette out of Antonio's mouth. So anyway, then this palm tree caught on fire, and I was talking with him and and the firemen came in, and they put out the fire, and they were asking Antonio, and they didn't know who Hemingway was, but they asked Antonio, they knew they're both fighters. So he autographed one of their boots or something, and so we had a grand time. I took off their hats, the firemen had these hats, and I put them on Papa, and all of us standing around, and I have pictures of that. Anyway, it was a day an evening to be remembered. It's the last time I saw him. So I traveled with Sandra also. We went to the bullfights after the movie was finished. And I was given a bull's ear by one of the bullfighters, Kuro Hiron. And I threw my hat in the ring, and he threw me back an ear. And I said, "Oh God, I'm an American. I've got to catch this ear and my hat." And I did. I caught both of them, and I was so proud of myself. So then I had the ear, what is it called? Stuffed or taxidermy. And I had a dog that ate it. So it was kind of disappointing. I met Liz before we left for Spain, and she was still recovering from her husband's death, Michael Todd. And he was a friend of mine also. So, I mean, you could tell she'd been crying since he died, and she was all kind of puffy. And I looked at her, and I went over and hugged her. And her birthday's one day apart from mine, and it was like sisters. So when I met her at the opening, and I had dated Eddie Fisher, and found him not very exciting, but he was sweet and had a wonderful voice. But at the opening, he pretended not to know me. You know, maybe I dated him I met him in Florida somewhere. But he didn't want to upset Elizabeth, I guess. It was so cute. Anyway, she's working on Butterfield Lane. I said, how's it going? It's a dog. She says, it's a dog. It's a dog. And she said, by the way, my agent is mad for you. And I had my Gloria. So this was Kurt Fring's big agent, Hollywood. But I couldn't give up on my Gloria Sapphire. I was at the opening in Chicago, the Mike Todd Theater. The smell-o-vision I thought worked very well. But the problem was Aroma Rama, which was some kind of gimmick, had a movie and they sent the odors through the air conditioning. And they got all the publicity. It was just Mike had a lot of people around him that were yes men to Daddy, to his father. And he didn't understand that you had to tell them what to do. And I guess he did. I mean, I adored him. But as I said about the mosque, that was like bad luck. I don't know. There was a famous critic from in California, James Bacon. So I have the interview somewhere, and because I read it recently, and he dubbed me the first lady of smell-o-vision. But at least it happened. Well, I save everything. So in going through, this wasn't part of my wardrobe, it was part of my wardrobe. And Jack Cardiff liked this, so he changed what I was supposed to be wearing. And I still have it. I can fit in to the waist, but no after two wonderful babies. So, it's kind of nice.